Former Health Minister Mkhize interfered in the affairs of the administrative authority of the Health Department. That's one of the major findings coming out of the SIU report into the Digital Vibes deal. The report was finally released by the President this morning, and it's being studied by researcher Dan Mafora. He's with the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution and joins us now live. Dan, we had to throw you in the deep end here as soon as we got the report, and we're all scrambling to unpack it. One of the findings was that at best, he meddled, Mkhize. At worst, his behavior was unlawful, and he did lie at a press conference saying that he knew nothing about the Digital Vibes contract.
Good morning, Annika. Thank you so much for having me. What is interesting about this report is that it obviously doesn't make any conclusions or recommendations to the president other than that he take executive action in regards to the minister. Obviously, that is now moot. That horse has already bolted because the minister resigned. But that, of course, does not preclude the NPA or the Hawks or whoever is investigated to look into the criminal aspect of whether or not the minister can be formally criminally liable for his role in this whole saga.
Dan, what do you think about the way this was managed from a point of view of the entire administration and the matter going to cabinet? Do you think it was a case of COVID, everybody was panicking, everybody was looking for deviations, and it was just kind of overlooked in the panic of the desperate need for PPE and COVID-19 communication?
Sure. I mean, it could be a case of that. Certainly, we know that things have changed and that procurement processes had to be expedited. But what is interesting is that when you read the report, there are several steps or several contracts, several levels at which Digital Vibes was engaged by the Department of Health, not only in relation to COVID-19 communications, but also to communications around the national health insurance. And so even on the basis that these were expedited contracts or processes, they still were not in line with the new prescript and deviated quite seriously, even to the extent that when you read the report, you see that to the extent that the former acting DG, Dr. Mkhize, misled Treasury as to what the contracts were for or how much they would cost. And so it looks like there was definitely some intentional malicious actions by several of the department's officials.
Mkhize benefited by some of the money being used on upgrading his security. His son benefited by getting a car. It seems that a lot of the direct tender procurement problems come from the president, from the former minister himself. Do you think that some of these long-standing civil servants, like Mkhize, were just under a huge amount of pressure?
Absolutely, and I mean the point about the WhatsApp texts that were being sent to the former DG by the minister requesting finalization, requesting or naming these particular individuals and companies that these contracts had to go to, do indicate or point towards the possibility that there was political interference in how the department was being administered, and that might have filtered down to some of the higher ranking members of the department, like Dr. Mkhize. But at this point, we obviously don't know because this investigation was quite targeted to these specific Digital Vibes contracts, and we don't know how much else is there still to be uncovered.
Dan, do you think that the ANC is going to be punished at the upcoming polls?
I am not a political analyst, so I would not want to comment on that. But I do think that the mood has certainly changed from the last time that we had local government elections in 2016. I do expect to see some change or a reflection of the change of mood in the election results.
Very quickly, what obligation, if any at all, does the President now have in order to deal with this report and follow through on the SIU's recommendations?
Look, like I said, the one obligation was obviously to take executive action against the minister. The other one, though, is that the report recommends disciplinary action against certain officials. He will have to see through the DG, through the Minister of Health and the DG of Health, that those actions are taken. So those are the ones that arise immediately. All the other stakeholders in the law enforcement processes will now also have to take up their roles and investigate this matter to finality.
All right, thank you so much to Casac researcher Dan Mafora. Thank you for your time this morning on the SIU report into Digital Vibes.